Hey peeps, it's Jedd here from Disrupt Tutoring, and as always, such a pleasure to join you. Today we're going to deal with a number of exponential type questions, and with that in mind, let's get straight into them. So they've said to us calculate, specifically without the use of a calculator. What this means is there needs to be clear evidence that you've worked to the answer yourself. If you do use a calculator to check, that's great, but if you go straight into an answer, you're not going to get the marks, because that means you haven't gotten to the answer without or by following a specific process. So they've said to us, show in each case all the calculation steps. Again, that reinforces the fact that you cannot use a calculator for these questions. So let's start off with our first one. So we've got the cube root of 73 minus, and then open brackets, minus 3, and we square that. So the first thing we need to try and do is simplify inside the bracket. Remember, we cannot split the cube root across the two terms within the cube root because they're separated by a minus sign. If they were being multiplied, we could do that, but we can't in this case. So we're going to keep our cube root. So we're going to keep the big cube root, and we're going to keep the 73 in the front, and we're going to have minus, and then the minus 3 squared becomes minus 3 times minus 3. The two negatives cancel out, and that becomes a positive, and the 3 times 3 gives us 9. So we're going to have minus 9. If we move into our next step, we've got the cube root of 73 minus 9. So again, we need to simplify that. 73 minus 9 is going to give us 64. And what's really nice about that is 64 is a perfect cube. So we know our answer here is going to equal 4. Okay, why is it 4? Well, 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, which means that the cube root of 64 is going to be 4. Really good job. Moving on to the next question, they've asked us between which two consecutive integers does the square root of 110 lie. Now, there's some important words in here. Two consecutive, so two consecutive, what does consecutive mean? It means after each other or next to each other. Integers, what does integer mean? It's a full number of 0, 1, 2, 3, or minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, but nothing in between, no decimals. Does the square root of 110 lie? So very importantly, the square root of 110 is not going to give you an integer as a result. It's going to give you some decimal, and the result of square root of 110, remember, is going to be an irrational number because it's not a perfect square. So the thing you need to do here is you need to figure out which perfect squares are closest to 110. Now we know that the square root of 100 is going to give us a perfect square, and we know that is less than the square root of 110. And now what is the next biggest perfect square? Well, that is going to be the square root of 121. Once you've got that, you're pretty much at the answer. The square root of 100, we know, is going to give us a perfect integer of 10, which is smaller than 110. And the square root of 121 is going to give us 11. So that means that the square root of 110 lies between 10 and 11, which are the two consecutive integers that they've asked you for, and that gets you the full mark for that question. And then finally, they've given us 3 times 5 to the 9 over 5 to the 7. So here we've got one of our exponential laws. And in this case, we're going to do the following. We're going to say, right, 3 times 5. Okay, now let's look at that 5. We've got a 5 at the top, and we've got a 5 at the bottom. And we've got an exponent of 9 on the 5 at the top, and an exponent of 7 on the 5 at the bottom. Now the rule here is when you divide powers with the same base, we subtract the exponents. So that would mean that in applying that law, we're going to have 9 minus 7 as our combined exponents. That is then going to give you 3 times, so 9 minus 7 is 2, so that's going to be 5 squared. That is therefore going to give you 3 times 25. And to finish that answer off, we're going to get 3 times 25, which is 75. And that gives you the full marks for that question. Really good job. Hopefully that helps out. Very special thank you to our sponsors for making this video possible. Be sure to read more about them in the description below. Also, check out our website for more of these epic tutorial videos. If you can't find the answer to your question, remember you can send us the question and we'll respond with a personalized video just for you. Until the next time, stay epic.